A woman impersonated me, created hundreds of deepfake nude photos, and sent them to my colleagues, my family, and even my 82-year-old grandmother. She wanted to destroy my life. The craziest part? I wasn't even her romantic rival. She failed, got fired, and was taken to court. But just when I thought the nightmare was finally over, she came back 2 years later. This time, her goal wasn't just to smear my name, it was to steal the national security level tech secrets I was paid to protect. This story isn't just about revenge. It's a lesson in survival in the digital age, where AI, deepfakes, and professional jealousy can obliterate your life if you don't stand up and fight for yourself. My name is Haley Parker, and I'm a data engineer at Southwest Grid Control in Austin, Texas. It's a high-pressure, male-dominated world where a single mistake, one misplaced line of code, one miscalculation, can have catastrophic consequences for millions of people. I'm one of a handful of women on the team. I never asked for favors. I had to work 3 times as hard, learn twice as fast, and try 10 times harder than my male counterparts. After 7 grueling but rewarding months, I earned a promotion. And that's when Monica Blake walked into my life. I used to think of myself as lucky. Here in the blistering Texas heat, I'd found a professional oasis at Southwest Grid Control. My job, data engineer, sounds bone dry to most, but to me, it's a symphony of numbers and algorithms. I love the deep dive into complex systems, the challenge of optimizing performance, and knowing that my quiet work ensures the lights stay on in millions of homes, hospitals, and schools. The control center is its own universe, a vast, cavernous room dominated by a wall of massive screens displaying the state's power grid, endless racks of humming servers, and the ever-present, acrid smell of burned coffee from long shifts. In an environment that was 85% male, being one of the first 3 female engineers at the center was both a badge of honor and a constant challenge. I had to prove myself every single day. I was ready for that. What I wasn't ready for was that being a successful woman in a place like this could make you a target, and not from the men you might expect. It all started on a sweltering Tuesday morning when Monica Blake was introduced as the newest member of the technical team. Monica was a software engineer transitioning into our sector. Armed with an impressive degree from a top university, a polished, confident air, and killer communication skills. She had perfectly coiffed blonde hair, a dazzling smile, and wore expensive, tailored business attire that stood out amongst our more casual engineering khakis and polos. At first, I felt nothing but a flicker of relief to have another woman on the team. I went out of my way to help her acclimate, inviting her to our team lunches, introducing her around, explaining the unwritten rules of the office, and even sharing a set of internal technical documents I'd spent months compiling. For the first few weeks, everything was smooth. Monica seemed friendly, gregarious, and laid on the admiration thick. "Haley, you're amazing," she'd say, her eyes wide with what I mistook for sincerity. "How do you juggle so many projects and stay so calm?" I'd just laugh and share a few tips, never suspecting a thing. But then, the tiny cracks began to appear, hairline fractures in her friendly facade that I, in my naivete, dismissed. One night, the team went out to a popular Austin barbecue joint to celebrate a major project milestone. The mood was loud and celebratory, amid the clinking beer bottles and boisterous stories. Monica suddenly turned to me, her voice syrupy sweet but laced with something sharp. "Haley, you and our boss Chris seem to get along really well. You two work so smoothly together." Always laughing and whispering in his office. "Is there something we should know?" A momentary silence fell over our end of the table before a few guys chuckled, assuming it was a harmless jab. But a chill traced its way down my spine. Chris, my direct supervisor, was a close friend and a brilliant mentor. He was also openly gay and happily married. Everyone in the company, including Monica, knew this. I forced a smile, playing along. If Chris were straight, I joked, I probably would have had to transfer departments long ago. Can't handle the charm. The table erupted in laughter, and I thought the awkward moment had passed. It hadn't. That was the opening shot. From that day forward, Monica's demeanor toward me did a complete 180. She became icy, avoiding eye contact in the hallway. In meetings, she'd interrupt me mid-sentence or make snide remarks about people who get special favors or the benefits of forming special relationships at work. Soon, a toxic rumor began to circulate. I'd slept with my boss for my promotion, the very promotion everyone had celebrated me for based on merit. I couldn't wrap my head around the venom. The sheer pettiness from a colleague I had actively tried to help. I tried to rise above it. I buried myself in my work, convinced that my dedication and professional ethics would eventually silence the gossip. If I just kept my head down and delivered results, the truth would prevail. But Monica had no intention of stopping. The breaking point came on a Monday morning. I was in the office early, as usual, prepping with Chris for a critical board meeting. We'd been pulling 14-hour days, and he was rubbing his temples, exhausted. I stood behind his chair and started giving him a quick, friendly shoulder rub, something completely platonic between two tired friends. Suddenly, the office door flew open. Monica stood there, her phone held high, flash blazing as she recorded a video. "I caught you," she shrieked triumphantly. "I knew it. Haley, seducing the boss for another promotion. Everyone, get in here and see this." Chris turned around slowly, his expression shifting from confusion to cold fury. "Monica, what did you just say?" he asked, his voice dangerously low. I couldn't take it anymore. The absurdity, the sheer malice of it all, made me burst out laughing, a sharp, humorless sound. I calmly walked to the corner of his office, picked up a framed photo from his desk, and held it up for her to see. It was a picture of Chris and his husband, David, embracing on their wedding day. Monica's face cycled through shades of red and pale white, like a cornered animal. Chris stood, his voice calm but as final as a guillotine's blade. "Get out of my office. Now." Monica was fired that same day for harassment, slander, and creating a hostile work environment. I thought the nightmare was over. In reality, it was just the prologue. About a month later, as my life was finally settling back into a normal rhythm, I was making coffee in the break room when a text from Chris popped up on my phone. "Haley, you need to get to the conference room. Now. It's serious." My heart clenched. When I walked in, Chris and a lawyer from our legal department were waiting, their faces grim. Chris slid his phone across the table. On the screen was an OnlyFans page, under my full name, Haley Parker. It featured dozens of nude photographs of a woman with my face, arranged in graphic, pornographic poses. The captions described, in lurid detail, the services I supposedly offered after hours. Nausea rose in my throat. My entire body went numb. The bio was a sick joke aimed at my career. It called me a versatile engineer who worked day and night shifts, available for clients with special energy needs. I knew instantly they were deepfakes, AI-generated forgeries, my face meticulously grafted from my social media photos onto a porn star's body. The technology was terrifyingly convincing. But the horror was magnified by the fact that the page already had nearly 800 followers. The comments section was a cesspool of vulgarity, with men writing graphic descriptions of their supposed encounters with me. "This engineer is hot," one wrote. "Delivers on the high-energy promise," another sneered. The real nightmare began. I reported it to our IT department. Chris put the full weight of the company's legal team behind me. We started a draining, expensive war against a hydra-headed monster. Every time we successfully got one account taken down, 3 more would spring up, with slight variations of my name: Haley P., Austin Engineer, Haley from TX. My LinkedIn, my work email, and my personal phone were flooded with sickening, perverted messages. I stopped checking my personal email. I changed my number. But somehow, the harassment always found me. The cruelest blow came when the images were sent directly to my family. My parents were devastated. My brother was furious. But the pinnacle of Monica's sadism was an email sent to my grandmother. Grandma Ruth, an 82-year-old woman who barely knew how to use her iPad, opened an email from a stranger and saw fake pornographic images of her own granddaughter. She called me, her voice choked with tears. "Haley, honey, what is this? Who would do something so evil to you?" I had no words. I felt my heart physically breaking. The overwhelming wave of helplessness, rage, and public humiliation threatened to drown me. That night, I sat in the dark, staring at a blank wall, asking the universe, why? What did I do to deserve this? But I refused to be broken. I am an engineer. I solve problems. And this was the most critical problem of my life. I took a deep, shuddering breath, wiped my eyes, and dialed my cousin, Ethan. He's a top-tier cybersecurity expert for a major bank in Dallas, a genuine white-hat wizard. "Ethan, I need your help," I said, my voice shaking but resolute. "I need to fight back." Ethan didn't ask for details. He heard the steel in my voice and just said, "Give me 24 hours. You'll have a plan tomorrow." He delivered. The next morning, a detailed, multi-page strategy landed in my inbox. It was brilliant. It was audacious. We would build a ghost company, a fake tech firm called Apex Technical Solutions. We'd create a dream job opening, a fantastic salary, benefits, and a job description tailored perfectly to Monica's resume, with a special emphasis on needing experience with Austin's energy grid systems. Ethan bought the domain and, in a few hours, built a sleek, professional, utterly convincing website, complete with fake client testimonials and sample engineering projects. I created a fake recruiter persona, Rebecca Sloan, with a crisp, professional LinkedIn profile. Ethan embedded tracking pixels in every corner of the website and in every email we would send, ensuring we could log every click, every keystroke, every IP address. The trap was set. We just had to wait for her to walk into it. It took less than 2 days. An application appeared in Rebecca's inbox. It was Monica Blake. She used her real name and personal email, attaching a 3-page resume and a cover letter dripping with self-pity and arrogance. She detailed her hardships working in a previous toxic environment and claimed she was unfairly dismissed due to personal conflicts with a jealous female colleague. That was all I needed to see. She felt no remorse. She was still the victim in her own twisted narrative. We scheduled a fake video interview. I wore a brown wig, non-prescription glasses, and used voice-altering software. Ethan sat off-screen, a silent sentinel monitoring the connection and recording every second. Monica joined the call 20 minutes early, dressed in a low-cut blouse. Her lipstick a slash of defiant red. The same old playbook. I started with standard technical questions to lull her into a false sense of security. Then, I pivoted. "Tell me about your experience with crisis communications and online reputation management." Monica lit up like a Christmas tree. This, she boasted, was her hidden talent. Without any further prompting, she launched into a proud, detailed account of a toxicology campaign she'd run to teach a lesson to an arrogant and incompetent former colleague. She shared her screen, gleefully showing me the architecture of the deepfake accounts she'd built, explaining her use of AI models, VPNs, and her meticulous daily schedule for posting content designed to disorient, dishonor, and destroy her target. My heart hammered against my ribs, a drumbeat of pure, cold fury. She showed me an Excel spreadsheet where she logged my public reactions, my reports to Instagram, and had even created charts to track my projected psychological distress level. She had turned my living hell into a cold, academic project. When I asked how she funded the various online services, she smirked. "Oh, my mom's credit card pays for everything. She has no idea." That was the nail in the coffin. She wasn't just a cyberstalker, she was committing financial fraud against her own mother. The moment the call ended, Ethan packaged the entire recording. Monica's real IP address, the list of her fake accounts, and the proof of financial fraud into a secure digital file. We sent it directly to the Austin Police Department's Cybercrimes Unit. Detective Larson, the sharp investigator who had initially heard my case, took one look at the evidence and immediately escalated it. 3 days later, police executed a search warrant at Monica's mother's house in Houston. They found Monica in the basement, surrounded by computers and monitors. They seized her hardware, notebooks filled with her detailed plans, and printouts of the deepfake posts with her handwritten notes grading their emotional damage effectiveness. She was arrested on the spot, mid-keystroke, creating a new fake profile of me. At the station, she denied everything, but the evidence was irrefutable: her videotaped confession, her IP address, her financial records. At her first hearing, her lawyer tried to build a case around a psychological disorder. But when the prosecutor played the clip from our fake interview, the one where Monica laughed with pride about her campaign to destroy a colleague, the argument fell apart. My grandma Ruth took the stand. Her hands trembled, but her voice was as steady as steel as she described the horror of seeing those images of her granddaughter. Looking directly at Monica, she said, "I have never wished harm on another soul in my life. But what you did to my Haley, that wasn't just malice. That was calculated, methodical cruelty." Monica was sentenced to 2 years of probation, 300 hours of community service, banned from all social media platforms, and barred from working in the tech sector for 5 years. She was also ordered to pay financial restitution. I finally breathed out. The nightmare, I thought, was finally, truly over. But life, I was learning, rarely offers such clean endings. The 2 years that followed were a period of deliberate, quiet healing. I poured myself into my work, reclaiming the professional space Monica had tried to poison. The articles written about her case served as a stark warning within the tech community about the weaponization of AI. In response, Southwest Grid Control implemented a raft of new security protocols, including mandatory digital security training and two-factor authentication for everyone. Chris, ever my ally, spearheaded an overhaul of the hiring process, adding psychometric assessments to screen for personality traits that might signal another Monica. I felt a profound sense of relief. The constant, low-grade anxiety that had become my companion began to dissipate. Mornings were mine again. I could enjoy my coffee, listen to my favorite jazz records, and drive to work without a knot of dread in my stomach. I started writing my tech blog again and accepted an invitation to be a keynote speaker at a digital privacy conference in San Francisco. My grandma Ruth, in a beautiful twist of irony, became a local hero at her senior center, hosting workshops on how to spot phishing scams and identify deepfakes. Life was being reassembled, piece by piece, into something stable and good. Until the day an email landed in my inbox. It was from a sleek energy startup in Seattle, inviting me to apply for a Director of Data Strategy position. The offered salary was double what I was making, complete with significant stock options and a generous relocation package. My first instinct was to dismiss it as too good to be true. But then a second email arrived, and a third, and a fourth. All from different, impressive-sounding companies in different cities, but all eerily similar. They referenced my specific skills and mentioned my contributions to internal, non-public projects at Southwest Grid Control. That old, familiar chill crept back up my spine. This was wrong. I printed everything and sent the file to Ethan. He called back in 2 hours. His voice was grim. "Haley, they're all being routed through the same obfuscated VPN. A few of the exit nodes trace back to public library terminals in Houston. It could be a long shot, but I think Monica's back." The floor seemed to drop out from under me. Monica was on probation, banned from the internet, and she was trying to phish me for proprietary information? This wasn't personal harassment anymore. This was corporate espionage, targeting critical infrastructure. Ethan and I knew we had to act. This time, it wasn't just about my reputation, it was about national security. We architected another, more sophisticated trap. We created a ghost technical document, a fake schematic for a next-generation grid balancing algorithm. It looked completely authentic, filled with complex equations and professional diagrams. But it was a Trojan horse, laced with multiple, redundant tracking codes. I replied to one of the fake job offers, feigning interest and attaching the document as a sample of my strategic work. Less than 3 hours later, we got a hit. The document was opened. The location: a computer terminal at a public library in a quiet Houston suburb, the exact neighborhood where Monica was living with her great-aunt. The digital fingerprint was identical to her old patterns. The use of specific VPN protocols, the time of day, the temporary email provider, even a few of her signature typos in the email headers. We handed the entire, neatly packaged digital dossier to Detective Larson. She didn't hesitate. Recognizing the escalation, she immediately looped in the FBI. They worked with the Houston PD to put Monica under quiet surveillance. A week later, they executed a search warrant on the aunt's house. Tucked away under Monica's bed, they found a spiral notebook. It contained her entire plan, detailed notes on how to socially engineer me, a list of target companies to sell the stolen data to, and horrifyingly, my daily schedule, what time I left for work. The route I took, the coffee shop I frequented, even the names of my lunch companions. Monica was arrested that same day. This time, the charges were far more severe. Multiple violations of her federal probation, attempted theft of trade secrets, and conspiracy to commit industrial espionage. In court, her new, high-priced lawyer tried to argue that she suffered from a severe obsessive-compulsive disorder that blurred the lines between fantasy and reality. But the evidence was overwhelming. The library's security footage, the notebook, the digital trail, it painted a clear picture of a calculating, deliberate criminal. I had to testify again. I walked to the stand, no longer trembling, just weary and resolute. I laid out the facts, explaining in clear, technical terms how Monica's actions had moved beyond personal vindictiveness and into an area that threatened the security of the very power grid we all depend on. The verdict was swift. 3 years in federal prison, to be followed by 5 years of strictly monitored probation. A permanent, court-enforced ban from the internet and any technology-related employment. Her great-aunt, who had believed in her, disowned her. I felt no thrill of victory watching them lead Monica away in handcuffs. Only a profound, hollow sadness for the waste of it all. She had talent. She had opportunities, but her soul was consumed by an envy so corrosive it had dissolved her entire future. I didn't leave Austin. I refused to let her chase me from my home, my career, my life. Chris, Ethan, Grandma Ruth, and my team, they had become my fortress. We still had lunch, we still argued over code, but now we listened differently. We watched out for each other. I poured my energy into advocacy. I developed cybersecurity curricula, published white papers on deepfake detection, and with Ethan, co-founded an online support network for victims of technology-facilitated harassment. We helped others navigate the legal system, reclaim their narratives, and find their strength. I met Leo, my husband, at a tech security conference. He had been the target of a massive data breach years earlier and understood the deep violation of digital privacy. We bonded over a shared belief in security, boundaries, and the right to a private life. The day he proposed, he did it with a custom-made fortune cookie. I cracked it open, and the little slip of paper read, "Your future is safe when your truth is backed up." I laughed through my tears and said yes without a moment's hesitation. Our wedding was a small, private affair. No social media posts, no live stream. Just our closest family and friends, celebrating under a canopy of Texas stars. It was a night of quiet joy, blessedly free of drama. I know my story is unique. Not everyone has a cybersecurity wizard for a cousin or a grandmother with the grit of a frontier woman. But if my ordeal taught me anything, it's this: do not let them make you feel powerless. Silence is not a shield. And never, ever underestimate the power of your own documented, protected, and properly deployed truth. As for Monica, the last I heard, she was a cautionary tale in engineering ethics textbooks, a case study in self-immolation fueled by envy. Her name is no longer associated with talent, only with a spectacular, self-inflicted failure. This journey changed me. It had to. I learned to see the warning signs I'd once dismissed. I learned the art of digital self-defense. Most importantly, I shed the naive belief that simply doing good work and being a good person is enough to protect you. For some people, your very existence, your success, your light, is the only provocation they need. I mentor the young women at my company now. I teach them about code, yes, but also about corporate politics, about setting boundaries, and about owning their digital identities. I don't use the word victim to describe myself. I am a survivor. A victor. When you control the narrative, you control your destiny. The machine learning project Monica tried to steal? It was successfully deployed statewide. I was the project lead. When I presented my team's findings at a national conference in New York, I had a moment of clarity on stage. If I had let her break me, I never would have made it here. My life with Leo is beautifully, wonderfully boring. We live in a quiet apartment overlooking a park, grow tomatoes on our balcony, and have strict rules about our digital lives. It's not about fear, it's about reverence for privacy. Love, we've learned, doesn't need an audience to be real. Sometimes, people in the industry still ask, "Are you that Haley Parker from the famous deepfake case?" I nod, without shame. That's a part of my story, I say. But I'm also Haley Parker, the data engineer who helped develop a more efficient power distribution solution for 12 million people. That other thing was just a chapter. I turned the page. I no longer harbor any hatred for Monica. Only a distant pity. She had every chance to build a life, but she chose to destroy one instead. And in the end, the only life she truly destroyed was her own. Every morning, I go to work. I stand before that wall of blinking lights and cascading data, a silent guardian of the grid. I feel a quiet pride. Not because I defeated an enemy, but because I endured. I am still here. Still doing the work I love. Still living my truth. I don't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. I just have to keep the lights on, keep loving, and keep remembering the simple, profound words my Grandma Ruth spoke to me on that first dark night. They can make fake pictures and fake stories, honey, but they can't make a fake truth. And you are the truth. I'm Haley Parker. And I'm still here.